The message came on a Tuesday. Captain Jack Reynolds was drinking his morning coffee in the command center of the Horizon when the communication officer called him over. "Sir, you need to see this." Jack walked to the console, his cup still in hand. On the screen was a signal pattern unlike anything they had seen before. It wasn't random noise, and it definitely wasn't human-made. "How long has it been coming in?" Jack asked. "About 20 minutes, sir. It's being broadcast across all frequencies." Jack placed his cup down and pressed the intercom button. "Dr. Miller to the command center." Immediately. Within 10 minutes, the ship's top scientist stood beside Jack, her eyes wide as she studied the pattern. "It's them," she whispered. "It's really them." "Aliens?" Jack asked, even though he already knew the answer. "Yes, and they want to talk." The news spread across Earth like wildfire. After decades of searching the stars, humanity had finally received confirmation they weren't alone. The alien message, once decoded, was simple. They called themselves the Vex, and they wanted to meet at the edge of our solar system. The Horizon, Earth's most advanced exploration vessel, was chosen for the mission. Captain Jack Reynolds, at 42, was considered the best choice to represent humanity. Steady, thoughtful, and experienced, he had been preparing for this moment his entire career without knowing it. As the ship approached the meeting coordinates, Jack stood at the viewport, his second-in-command, Mike, beside him. "Do you think they're friendly?" Mike asked. Jack watched as the stars drifted past. "For our sake, I hope so." Then they saw it, a ship that dwarfed the Horizon by at least 10 times. Its surface was smooth and dark, with glowing purple lines running across its hull like veins. "All stop," Jack ordered. "Open communication channels." The response was immediate. A holographic projection appeared on the bridge, showing a tall, gray-skinned being with 6 limbs and eyes that shimmered like prisms. "Greetings, humans," it said, its voice surprisingly melodic. "I am Mord, ambassador of the Vex. We represent the Union, a collective of species spanning hundreds of star systems." Jack stepped forward. "I am Captain Jack Reynolds of Earth. We are honored to make your acquaintance." Mord tilted his head. "We have observed your species for some time. Your progress is remarkable." The diplomatic talks continued for 3 days. The Vex offered knowledge, technology, and partnership. They spoke of bringing Earth into their union, of elevating humanity to the stars. Everything seemed perfect, too perfect. On the 4th day, as Jack was preparing to sign the preliminary agreement, Dr. Miller burst onto the bridge. "Captain, I've been analyzing their language patterns," she said, her voice urgent. "There are inconsistencies, phrases that don't match their earlier statements." "What are you saying?" Jack asked. "They're lying. About everything." Before Jack could respond, the ship shuddered violently. The lights flickered and alarms blared. "We're being locked in some kind of energy field," Mike shouted from his station. Jack rushed to the communication console. "Ambassador Mord, what is the meaning of this?" The holographic image of Mord appeared, but the friendly demeanor was gone. "You humans are so trusting, so eager to believe you found friends among the stars." "We came in peace," Jack said. "Peace," Mord repeated the word as if it tasted strange. "You don't even know what that means. We've encountered your kind before, in other parts of the galaxy. Your colonies, your outposts." Jack exchanged confused looks with his crew. "What colonies? We've barely left our own solar system." "Not you," Mord said. "Not yet, but you will. Your kind spreads like a disease. Unpredictable. Dangerous. We've seen what you become, and we cannot allow it." The realization hit Jack like a physical blow. "You're from the future. Time is not as linear as you believe," Mord said. "We exist in many places at once. We have seen your future, and we are here to prevent it." The ship shuddered again as another energy pulse hit it. "Engines offline," the engineer shouted. "Weapons non-responsive," Mike added. Jack glared at the hologram. Whatever you think we've done, whatever you've seen, you're making a mistake. The mistake was allowing your species to reach the stars in the first place. We are correcting that error. The hologram disappeared, and the bridge was plunged into darkness as the ship's power failed completely. On Earth, the attack came without warning. Massive ships appeared over every major city. They didn't communicate, didn't make demands. They simply opened fire. In New York, Lisa Martinez watched from her apartment window as strange crafts descended from the larger ships, landing in the streets. Gray figures emerged, moving with inhuman speed. Her phone buzzed with an emergency alert. CKASGLTR, EDA. This is not a drill. She tried calling her parents in Chicago, but the lines were dead. The internet was down too. As panic set in, she grabbed a backpack and started filling it with essentials: water, food, first aid supplies. A deafening boom shook the building. Looking outside again, she saw that the aliens had set up some kind of device in the middle of Times Square. It pulsed with energy, creating a dome of shimmering light that expanded outward, covering several blocks. People caught within the dome simply stopped. They stood frozen, like statues. Lisa knew she had minutes, maybe seconds, before the effect reached her building. She ran for the stairs, her heart pounding. Back on the horizon, Jack and his crew were being herded into the ship's cargo bay by Vex soldiers. Their movements were quick and precise, their 6 limbs allowing them to easily subdue any resistance. "Why are you doing this?" Jack demanded as Mord supervised the operation. "Your species has a saying," Mord replied. "Cut off the head and the body dies. We are removing Earth's leadership, its scientists, its military commanders. The rest will follow." "You don't know humans very well," Jack said. "We don't break so easily." Mord's prismatic eyes flashed. "Everyone breaks, Captain. It's simply a matter of applying the right pressure." Through the cargo bay window, Jack could see Earth, a blue marble hanging in the distance. He wondered how many were dying at this very moment, how many were fighting back. "You've made a serious mistake," he said quietly. "Oh." Mord seemed amused. "You should have killed us all at once," Jack said. "Because as long as one human still draws breath, we'll never surrender. And now you've just given us something to fight for." Mord stared at him for a long moment. "We shall see, Captain. We shall see." As Jack was led away with the rest of his crew, he made a silent promise to the distant Earth. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The occupation of Earth had begun. But so had the resistance. 3 years passed like a slow, painful dream. Jack Reynolds stared at the gray walls of his cell in the lunar prison. His once neat uniform hung loose on his frame, and a beard now covered his face. But his eyes remained sharp, watching, waiting. The door slid open. A Vex guard stood there, all 6 limbs at attention. "Prisoner 1157, come with me," it said in that strange musical voice all Vex shared. Jack stood slowly, conserving energy. "Where to this time?" "Another mind scan." The guard didn't answer, simply motioning with one of its upper limbs. Jack followed, shuffling down the corridor past other cells. Inside each one, former military personnel, scientists, and government officials from Earth lived in the same grim conditions. Some had given up. Others, like Jack, still planned. They entered a large room where several humans worked at strange machines under Vex supervision. Jack recognized some of them. Crew members from the horizon. "Workstation 3, the guard ordered, pointing to an empty seat. Jack sat down. The machine in front of him displayed complex equations and star charts. The Vex had discovered that humans were good at recognizing patterns, at solving problems in ways their highly logical minds couldn't always match. "Find the anomaly," his supervisor said. Jack began working, his fingers moving across the alien interface, but his mind was elsewhere. On Earth, Anna Miller wiped sweat from her forehead as she mopped the floor of the Vex research facility. Once a respected physicist, now she was just worker 8734, cleaning up after her alien overlords. The Vex had established their main command center in what used to be London. Force fields surrounded all major cities, controlling who got in and out. Humans were divided into categories: workers, collaborators, and resistors. Workers did the manual labor. Collaborators helped the Vex govern. Resistors, well, they didn't last long. Or so the Vex thought. Anna finished her section and pushed her cart toward the restricted area. The guard there knew her. She had been cleaning this section for 2 years now. It nodded its bulbous head, allowing her through. Inside, she went about her business, careful not to look too interested in the Vex technology around her. But as she cleaned near a console, her trained eye noticed something new, a diagram of what appeared to be a neural network. When no one was looking, she pulled a small device from her pocket and placed it under the console. It would record all transmissions for the next hour before self-destructing. Information was the most valuable currency now. In the ruins of Chicago, Tom Parker led his team through the sewers. Once a Marine, now he commanded a resistance cell of 30 people. They moved silently, carrying salvaged and makeshift weapons. Their target was a Vex supply depot. The aliens needed certain minerals to maintain their technology, and disrupting their supply chain was one of the few effective tactics the resistance had found. "Remember," Tom whispered to the group, "hit fast, grab what you can, and disappear. No heroes today." They emerged from a manhole 2 blocks from the depot. The night sky was lit by the purple glow of Vex ships patrolling overhead. Tom gave the signal, and they split into 3 groups. His team approached from the west, keeping to the shadows. The depot was guarded by 2 Vex and several human collaborators. The sight of humans working with the invaders still made Tom's blood boil, but he understood fear could break some people. But not all. Never all. In a meeting chamber aboard the main Vex ship orbiting Earth, Supreme Commander Xol reviewed the latest reports. "The human resistance continues to be problematic," said his second-in-command. "They destroyed another depot last night." Xol's prismatic eyes flickered with annoyance. "It has been 3 years. Our models predicted they would have accepted their situation by now. These humans are different," the second-in-command admitted. "They do not follow predictable patterns when cornered." "Have we made any progress with the prisoners on the lunar base?" "Some have begun cooperating, providing technical assistance, but others, like the captain of their space vessel, remain defiant." Xol moved to the viewing port, looking down at Earth. "Increase work quotas by 20%. Reduce food rations in any zone with suspected resistance activity. That will cause suffering among innocent humans as well." "Precisely," Xol said. "Let them police each other. Survival is a powerful motivator." Back in her small apartment in the worker zone of New London, Anna carefully examined the data she had stolen. Most of it was meaningless to her. Vex science was far advanced beyond human understanding, but there was something about their communication system that caught her attention. The Vex relied on a neural network to communicate with each other and their technology. It operated on specific frequencies that seemed to resonate with their unique brain structure. "If we could disrupt that frequency," she muttered to herself. A knock at her door made her freeze. She quickly hid the datapad under a loose floorboard before answering. It was her neighbor, Ben, one of the few people she trusted. His face was grim. "There's been another purge," he whispered. "They took everyone from Block C." Anna's heart sank. Block C had been home to several former scientists. Were there any survivors? Ben shook his head. "But there's something else. Word from the resistance. They're planning something big, and they need people with scientific knowledge." Anna hesitated. Until now, she had been gathering information, staying under the radar. Active resistance meant certain death if caught. But what was the alternative? Slowly dying as a slave to the Vex. "Tell them I'm in," she said. "And I may have found something important. Something about how the Vex communicate with each other. Ben's eyes widened. If we could disrupt their communication, we might have a chance. Anna finished. In his lunar cell, Jack had been scratching marks on the wall, not to count days, but to create a map. Years of observing guard rotations, prisoner transfers, and facility operations had given him a mental picture of the entire base. Tonight, he added the final mark. The map was complete. He looked around at his small cell, the cot, the sink, the single light that never fully turned off. Then he reached under his mattress and pulled out a small piece of metal he had sharpened against the floor over months. It wasn't much of a weapon, but it would do. 3 years of captivity, 3 years of watching, waiting, and planning. 3 years of the Vex thinking they had broken humanity's spirit. They were about to learn how wrong they were. As lights dimmed for the night cycle, Jack whispered to himself the words that had become a mantra for those who still fought. They thought we'd break, but humans never surrender. The time had come to prove it. The alarms blared throughout the lunar prison. Red lights flashed in the corridors as Vex guards rushed past Jack's now empty cell. "Find him," the commander shouted. "Lock down all sections." But Jack was already 3 levels down, moving through maintenance tunnels he had memorized from his hidden map. Behind him came 5 other prisoners, a pilot, 2 engineers, a communications specialist, and a doctor. All people he trusted, all ready to fight. "The hangar is 2 more sections ahead," Jack whispered, his voice hoarse from years of minimal use. The metal shard he had fashioned into a weapon was now stained with the strange blue fluid that served as Vex blood. They'd reached a sealed door. One of the engineers, Lisa, examined the lock. "I can bypass this," she said, pulling wires from the panel. "But it will trigger another alarm." "Do it," Jack ordered. "We're past being subtle now." As Lisa worked, the doctor pressed his ear against the door. "I hear movement on the other side." Jack nodded grimly. "Once we're through, expect resistance. Our target is the scout ship on the far end of the hangar. It's small enough for us to operate with our limited crew." The door slid open, and immediately they were met with weapons fire. Energy bolts sizzled past, striking the wall behind them. "Now," Jack shouted, and they broke into a run, firing back with weapons they had taken from fallen guards. The hangar was vast, filled with various Vex vessels. As they ran toward their target ship, Jack saw something that made his heart leap. Through the massive hangar doors, Earth was visible, a blue and green jewel hanging in the blackness of space. "Home," he whispered, then raised his voice. "Keep moving. We're almost there." Anna's hands trembled as she connected wires to the makeshift transmitter. Around her, the Resistance hideout was a flurry of activity. Tom's group had joined forces with hers, combining their fighting skills with her technical knowledge. "Will it work?" Tom asked, his face grimy from the recent battle to secure the components she needed. "In theory," Anna replied. "If my calculations are correct, this should create a disruption in the frequency the Vex use to communicate. It won't last long, but it should give us a window of opportunity." Tom nodded, turning to address the gathered fighters. "Once the disruption begins, we hit the control center. They'll be disoriented, unable to coordinate. That's our chance to take out the force field generators." A young woman raised her hand. "What about the human collaborators? They won't be affected by the disruption." Tom's face hardened. "Avoid killing them if possible. Many are there under threat or simply trying to survive. But don't hesitate if they threaten the mission." Anna finished the final connections and stood up. "It's ready, but I have to be close to their main communication hub for maximum effect." "That's inside the control center," Tom pointed out. "We'll have to get you in first, before the main attack." Anna swallowed hard. She'd spent 3 years staying hidden, gathering information. Now she would be walking directly into danger. "I'll do it," she said firmly. "Whatever it takes." On the Vex command ship, Supreme Commander Xal received the report of the prison break with cold fury. "How many escaped?" he demanded. 6 humans, Commander. They stole a scout vessel and fled toward Earth. Sol's secondary arms twitched in irritation. Track them. Shoot them down before they reach the atmosphere. We're trying, sir, but they're flying erratically. The human pilot is unpredictable. That word again. Unpredictable. It seemed to define these humans, making them both inferior and somehow dangerous at the same time. What of the unrest in the human cities? Sol asked, changing subjects. His subordinate brought up a holographic display showing various hotspots of resistance activity. It's growing, sir. Despite increased rations cuts and punishments, they seem to be inspired by each other's defiance. Sol studied the display, his prismatic eyes reflecting the glowing points of light. Then perhaps it's time to give them something different to think about. Prepare the destroyer cannon. The subordinate's eyes widened. Sir, the destroyer would eliminate an entire human city. Precisely, Sol said coldly. Target their former capital, New York. Let's see how they maintain their spirit when they witness true power. Jack piloted the stolen Vex ship with everything he had learned from years of observation. The vessel handled strangely, clearly designed for beings with more limbs, but he was managing 2 pursuit craft, closing fast. The communications specialist shouted, "Hold on." Jack pulled the ship into a steep dive, then cut power momentarily, letting them drift before reigniting the engines in a different direction. The maneuver couldn't be calculated by Vex computers because it made no logical sense. It was pure human instinct. One pursuer overshot them. The other adjusted but lost ground. We're entering Earth's atmosphere, Lisa reported. Where are we heading? Jack had thought about this for 3 years. London, the Vex command center. If we're going to make a difference, that's where we need to be. That's suicide, the doctor muttered. Jack gave him a grim smile. You got something better to do. As they broke through the clouded layer, the devastation below became visible. Cities surrounded by purple force fields, vast areas left barren, and the occasional flash of weapons fire where resistance fighters were engaging Vex forces. Look, the pilot said suddenly, pointing at their communication display. There's a signal. Unencrypted. Human. Jack leaned forward as the message came through, broken but clear enough. To all resistance cells, Operation Thunderclap begins at 300 hours. Target is London Command Center. Disruption technology in place. Need all available fighters. Jack looked at his crew, a fierce hope lighting his eyes for the first time in years. Seems we're not alone after all. Anna, disguised as a collaborator with forged credentials, walked through the gates of the London Command Center. The transmitter was hidden in her bag, disguised as standard cleaning equipment. Her heart pounded as a Vex guard scanned her ID. After a tense moment, it waved her through. Remember, Tom had told her before she left, you just need to get to the central communication hub. Activate the device and get out. The fighting will be up to us. She took a deep breath and walked toward the central building, where the heart of the Vex occupation force directed their operations across Earth. Above her, unnoticed, a small ship of alien design descended through the clouds, piloted by hands that should not have known how to control it. The turning point in humanity's fight for survival had begun. The stolen Vex ship shuddered as Jack guided it down to a hidden landing zone, 5 miles outside London's force field. Resistance fighters emerged from the tree line, weapons raised until they recognized the humans exiting the craft. Captain Reynolds. A tall man with a scared face stepped forward. Tom Parker, resistance leader for this sector. We thought you were dead. Jack grasped the offered hand. Not dead, just waiting for the right moment. Tom nodded toward the ship. Can that thing get back into orbit? Yes, but the Vex will be looking for it. Why? Because what I'm about to tell you changes everything. Tom led them to an underground bunker where maps and communication equipment filled the cramped space. 3 days ago, one of our teams intercepted a Vex transmission. It took us this long to decode it. He played a recording. The strange musical language of the Vex filled the room. "What does it say?" Jack asked. "They're at war," Tom replied simply. "The Vex are fighting another alien coalition called the Meridian Alliance. Earth wasn't just conquered for resources. They took us to prevent us from joining their enemies." Jack absorbed this information. "So there are others out there who oppose the Vex?" "Yes." "And the transmission included coordinates, a Meridian outpost at the edge of our solar system." Jack exchanged looks with his crew. "If we could make contact." "Exactly," Tom said. "But we have to move fast. The Vex are building something big, a planet-wide suppression field that will permanently affect human mental capacity. Make us docile, controllable. How long do we have?" "Days. Maybe a week." Jack turned to Lisa. "Can we modify the scout ship to mask its energy signature? Make it harder for the Vex to track?" She thought for a moment. "With the right parts, yes." "You're going after the Meridians," Tom realized. Jack nodded. "While you continue with Operation Thunderclap. If we can bring back help, we'll buy you as much time as we can," Tom promised. Anna moved through the Vex command center, keeping her head down. Her fake credentials had gotten her this far, but the inner sections were more heavily guarded. She waited near a doorway, watching the patterns of guards and workers. When a group of collaborators passed, she fell in behind them, mimicking their subservient posture. The central communication hub was just ahead, a massive chamber filled with pulsing technology and Vex operators. Her device needed to be placed at the center of it all to have maximum effect. Taking a deep breath, she adjusted her uniform and walked purposefully toward the main console. Supreme Commander Xol stood before the massive view screen, watching as the destroyer cannon was moved into position above New York City. "Begin charging sequence," he ordered. "Commander," his aide interrupted. "We're detecting anomalous readings from a scout ship that departed the lunar base earlier. The escaped prisoners. I ordered them shot down. The ship evaded our pursuers and landed near London. But now it's showing movement again, heading upward." Sol's eyes narrowed. Upward? Into space? What would be their purpose? Suddenly, a memory surfaced, a report from years ago about an intercepted transmission from the Meridian Alliance. "The coordinates," he whispered. Then louder, "Recall the destroyer. All available ships to intercept that scout vessel. They must not leave our solar system." Jack piloted the modified scout ship away from Earth, pushing its engines to their limits. Behind them, Vex warships were already in pursuit. "They figured it out fast," Lisa commented from the engineering station. "Too fast," Jack agreed. "They know where we're going, which means the Meridian Alliance is real, and a genuine threat to them." The small ship vibrated as they accelerated. Earth grew smaller behind them, a blue dot among the stars. "Captain," the communications specialist called out, "I'm picking up a signal from the London command center. It's on a frequency the Vex don't use. Put it through." Anna's voice came through, broken but clear enough. "Device activated. Disruption in progress. Force fields failing. Resistance forces engaging. Good luck, Captain Reynolds." Jack felt a surge of hope. They're doing it. They're hitting the Vex while they're distracted with us. Energy blasts from the pursuing Vex ships lit up space around them as they pushed farther into the solar system. Their little scout ship wasn't built for this kind of chase. "We can't outrun them all the way to the coordinates," the pilot warned. Jack studied the nav system. "We don't have to. There's a dense asteroid field ahead. We can lose them there." "That's suicide," Lisa objected. Jack gave her a grim smile. "For them, maybe. They think in straight lines and calculated risks. We don't." He banked the ship sharply, heading directly into the field of tumbling space rocks. On Earth, Operation Thunderclap was in full swing. Anna's device had worked better than expected, disrupting Vex communications across the entire London sector. The aliens stumbled about, unable to coordinate their defenses as resistance fighters stormed the control center. Tom led the main assault, pushing through the outer perimeter as Vex guards fired blindly, their usual precision lost without their neural link. "Keep moving," he shouted to his fighters. "Head for the central control room. We need to disable the force field generators." Anna, meanwhile, had barricaded herself in the communication hub. The initial confusion wouldn't last long. The Vex would adapt, find workarounds. She needed to maximize the disruption while she could. Her fingers flew over the alien console, applying everything she had learned in 3 years of secret study. She wasn't just blocking their communications now. She was sending false orders, creating chaos in their ranks. A heavy thud against the door told her the Vex had found her. The barrier wouldn't hold for long. The scout ship danced between massive asteroids, executing maneuvers no Vex pilot would attempt. 2 pursuit ships had already crashed, unable to match Jack's unpredictable course changes. "We're approaching the coordinates," the pilot announced. "I don't see anything," Lisa said, scanning the viewport. Jack checked the navigation system again. It should be right. The ship suddenly shuddered to a stop, caught in some kind of energy field. "We're being scanned," the communications specialist reported, her voice tense. A massive ship shimmered into view ahead of them, at least 3 times the size of the largest Vex vessel they had seen. Its design was completely different, organic curves instead of harsh angles, glowing with soft golden light rather than the Vex's purple. "Incoming transmission," the communications specialist said. A holographic image appeared, a being unlike any they had seen before. Its form was almost translucent, with multiple appendages that seemed to flow like water. "Humans," it said in perfect English. "We have been waiting for you." Jack stepped forward. "I am Captain Jack Reynolds of Earth. We've come seeking alliance against our common enemy, the Vex." The being's form rippled slightly. "I am Lazenthal of the Meridian Alliance. We have been monitoring your world since the Vex invasion." "Then why haven't you helped us?" Lissa demanded. "Your species was unknown to us. We needed to understand what kind of beings you are before intervening." Thal's form shifted again. "The fact that you found us, that you escaped the Vex against impossible odds, this tells us much." Jack leaned forward. "Earth is fighting back, but we need help. The Vex are building a planet-wide suppression field. Once it's active, humanity will be effectively enslaved forever." Thal was silent for a moment. "The Meridian Council must approve any intervention, but I will bring you to them." The energy field around their ship relaxed. "Follow our beacon, and hurry. I fear time is not on our side." As their ship followed the much larger Meridian vessel deeper into space, Jack looked back toward the distant Earth. "Hold on," he whispered. "Help is coming." The Meridian Council chamber was unlike anything Jack had ever seen. 7 beings of different species sat in a semicircle, each one more alien than the last. Some were vaguely humanoid, others completely different in form. All watched him with what he hoped was curiosity rather than hostility. "Captain Jack Reynolds of Earth," announced Lazenthal. "He comes seeking our help against the Vex." Jack stepped forward, painfully aware of how primitive he must seem to these advanced beings. "Counselors, my planet has been under Vex occupation for 3 years. They're building a suppression field that will permanently enslave humanity. We're fighting back, but we need help." The large crystalline being leaned forward. "Why should we risk our forces for your world? What do humans offer the Alliance?" Jack hesitated. Earth had nothing to match their technology. No resources they couldn't find elsewhere. "Unpredictability," he finally said. "The Vex fear us because they can't predict what we'll do. That's why they invaded, not for our resources, but because they fear what humanity might become." The council members exchanged glances. A slender, almost ghostly figure spoke next. "It takes more than unpredictability to win a war. It takes courage, sacrifice, unity." "We have those too," Jack replied firmly. "Humans never stopped fighting, Even when victory seemed impossible, we never surrendered. Silence filled the chamber until finally, a being composed of what looked like swirling energy addressed the others. The Vex fear these humans enough to commit significant forces to their subjugation. That alone makes them valuable allies. "Very well," said the crystalline counselor. "We will send a fleet to Earth, but it will take time to mobilize." "Time is the one thing we don't have," Jack urged. "The suppression field will activate within days." Thal stepped forward. "There is another option. The prototype." The council members stirred uncomfortably. "What prototype?" Jack asked. "A device capable of disrupting Vex technology on a massive scale," Thal explained. "Still experimental, but it might buy your people time until our fleet arrives." The council debated briefly before the crystalline leader nodded. "Very well. Captain Reynolds, you will return to Earth with the prototype. Lays and Thal will accompany you. Our fleet will follow as soon as possible." Jack bowed, hope filling his chest for the first time in years. "Thank you." On Earth, the battle for London raged. Tom led what remained of his fighters through the burning streets toward the central control tower. Anna's destruction had worked, but the effect was fading as the Vex adapted. "We need to reach the main control room," Tom shouted over the sound of energy weapons. "It's our only chance to stop the suppression field." Beside him, fighters fell one by one, but they pressed on, driven by the knowledge that this might be humanity's last stand. Anna had escaped the communication hub just before the Vex broke through. Now she ran through side corridors, trying to reach Tom's position. The data tablet clutched in her hand contained everything she had managed to download about the suppression field, its design, power source, and most importantly, its weakness. As she rounded a corner, she came face to face with Supreme Commander Sol and two guards. "The human scientist," Sol said, his prismatic eyes flashing. "You've caused quite enough trouble." Anna backed away slowly, looking for an escape route. There was none. "Your resistance is futile," Sol continued. "Even now, our ships pursue your Captain Reynolds. The suppression field will activate on schedule. Humanity's spirit will finally be broken." Anna stood taller. "You still don't understand us, do you? Humans don't break. We bend, we adapt, we evolve. But we never break." Sol raised a weapon, a theory we shall never fully test. A sudden explosion rocked the corridor. Tom and three fighters appeared through the smoke, firing at the Vex guards. "Anna, run," Tom shouted. She bolted past the momentarily distracted Sol, joining Tom's group as they pushed toward the control room. "Did you get it?" Tom asked as they ran. Anna patted the tablet. "Everything we need, but we have to hurry." In orbit above Earth, a swirling portal opened. Jack's modified scout ship emerged, now equipped with Meridian technology, followed by Thal's much larger vessel. "Multiple Vex ships detected," Lisa reported from the scanner. "They're concentrating around the Himalayas," Jack noted. "That must be where the suppression field generator is located." Thal's holographic form appeared on their bridge. "The prototype can neutralize their technology, but it must be deployed directly at the main generator." "Then that's where we're going," Jack said, directing the ship toward Earth's surface. "Can you keep the Vex fleet busy?" "We will do what we can," Thal replied. "But hurry. Our sensors indicate the suppression field is beginning its activation sequence." In the London Control Center, Anna and Tom fought their way to the main control room. The data from Anna's tablet was displayed on the central screen. "The suppression field draws power from a central facility in the Himalayas," Anna explained quickly. "If we can send a shutdown signal from here, we might be able to buy some time." Tom posted guards at the door while Anna worked the Vex controls, her fingers flying across the alien interface. "I'm in," she said after tense minutes. "Sending the shutdown sequence now." The screen flashed, then displayed an error message in Vex language. "What happened?" Tom asked. Anna's face paled. "They've locked us out. The only way to stop it now is directly at the source. The door exploded inward. Supreme Commander Sol stood there, his weapon aimed at them. "Your efforts are impressive, but ultimately meaningless," he said. "The field activates in 30 minutes. Humanity as you know it ends today." Jack's ship landed near the massive Vex facility built into the side of a Himalayan mountain. Snow swirled around them as they exited, carrying the Meridian prototype, a device that pulsed with golden energy. "The generator is inside," Lisa said, checking her scanner. "But security will be heavy." "We don't need to get all the way in," Jack explained. "Just close enough for this to work." They fought their way through the outer defenses, the prototype's energy disrupting nearby Vex technology. Inside, the facility was massive, a cathedral to alien science, built to enslave an entire planet. At its heart stood a pillar of pulsing purple energy, stretching from floor to ceiling. Vex technicians worked frantically, initiating the final activation sequence. "There," Jack pointed. "That's the control center. We need to get the prototype within 50 meters." Energy blasts flew around them as more Vex guards arrived. Jack's team took cover, returning fire. "We're pinned down," Lisa shouted. "We'll never make it in time." Jack looked at the prototype, then at his team. "Yes, we will. Cover me." Before anyone could stop him, he grabbed the device and ran from cover, sprinting toward the energy pillar. Vex fire scorched the air around him. A blast caught his leg, another his shoulder, but he kept moving. 20 meters from the pillar, a final shot hit him in the back. He fell, sliding across the polished floor, the prototype tumbling from his grasp. With his last strength, Jack lunged forward, activating the device. Golden energy exploded outward, washing over the facility. The purple pillar flickered, sputtered, and died. Vex technology throughout the complex failed, leaving only emergency lighting. In London, Sol suddenly staggered, his connection to the Vex network severed. Tom didn't hesitate, tackling the commander while Anna seized his dropped weapon. "What have you done?" Sol demanded. Above them, the view screen showed Vex ships falling from the sky worldwide as the disruption spread globally. "Exactly what you said we couldn't do," Anna replied. "We've broken your hold on our world." Days later, the Meridian fleet arrived in Earth's orbit, finding a planet already halfway to liberation. With the suppression field neutralized and Vex technology crippled, resistance fighters worldwide had risen up. In a field hospital in what was once Tibet, Jack awoke to find Thal and Anna at his bedside. "The Vex?" he asked weakly. "Retreating," Anna said, smiling through tears. "The Meridian fleet arrived just in time to prevent reinforcements. Sol and the other commanders are in custody." "Earth is free," Thal added, "and the Meridian Council wishes to formally invite humanity to join the alliance." Jack looked out the window, where human and Meridian ships flew side by side in a clear blue sky. "Not bad," he whispered, "for a species that wasn't supposed to survive." Anna took his hand. "They thought we'd break." Jack smiled. But humans never surrender. In the distance, the sun rose over a free Earth, battered and scarred, but unbowed, ready to take its place among the stars.